Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining us. Welcome to the second event in our Lunchtime webinar series today. Today we're going to be taking a look at our new patient portal. So our patient portal is a web-based tool that provides your patients with secure online access to their medical details so they can take a more active role in managing their appointments. So just before we get started, I just wanted to introduce who we've got working with us today. So I'm going to be the speaker today. I'm a customer account executive at Heaver. We've also got Lev and Meg, who are in the Q&A section in the background of this webinar today. And we've also got Holly as well, who's going to be doing or producing for the webinar. So before we get started, just to let you know, cameras and microphones will be switched off for this session. We've switched them off just so that you can put any questions you've got in our Q&A panel. You'll be able to access the Q&A panel just from the Teams bar in the top of your screens. Please feel free to ask any questions in there, and our teams or guys will get back to you as soon as they can. Just to let you know as well, we are recording this session today. So I just wanted to get started by having a look at our patient portal login screen. A few of you may have already seen our patient portal login screen, and it was our original blue one. In 8.36, what we've done is we're just finalising a new login screen for the portal. So our new login screen is going to be using Microsoft Identity Server technology. So we just wanted to give you an initial glimpse at this today. It's just worth bearing in mind that we haven't quite released this yet. It will be in 8.36. So I've done a few screenshots on the presentation today just so we can see what that looks like and how it works. So what it'll allow users to do is they'll now be able to sign up using one of their social accounts instead. So they'll be able to use things like Facebook, Microsoft, Google, Twitter, and many more. It's also built in React as well, so it does work on mobile phones, so it's worth keeping that in mind as well. You can customize the login screen, so as you'll see on ours, we've got a Compucare patient with a little icon above it. You'll be able to change this to suit your hospital, just brand it up so it looks a bit more in line with your brand guidelines. So you could put a hospital name under there as well as a logo as well. Obviously, that just gives the patient login in a bit more clarification and security as well, that it is part of the services that you're offering. So in terms of getting patients onto the portal, what we imagine happening is we envision the patient getting a initial letter or email, which will have their Compucare number on it. This links into the patient identifier field, which I'll just run through in a moment. We'll imagine they'll get a URL on that as well that will link them into the portal, and it'll come up with this sign-in screen. And we'll imagine that that'll be a good way to get them onto the portal. So if they choose to register instead of signing in with one of their social accounts, you could see underneath the sign-in button there's a little sign up now. What that'll do is it will just take them through to this next screen. So in the next screen, you'll see it just comes up with a few options. It asks them for email address and to create a password. It'll also create a display name, and it just asks for their surname as well. Once they've completed that, it'll take them to a second sign-up screen. In here, you can see we've got a few different things. So it's got their date of birth, and it's also got this patient identifier field. So the patient identifier field, this is going to be their Compucare ID. It's worth bearing in mind this isn't their NHS number or anything like that. It is the Compucare ID. So we imagine you'd put that on the initial email or letter that you send to them to let them know about the portal, just so they've got everything they need to sign up. If they sign up with their social accounts, so if they chose the Facebook option on the first page there, it will push them straight through to this page. So they'll skip out that second step where they have to put in all their name and details like that, and it'll jump them straight into this page here. So it's worth bearing that in mind as well. Okay, so once they've signed in, what it'll ask them to do is it'll ask them to choose a validation code, which you can see at the bottom here. It's got the option of email, mobile, or landline. So what that's going to do is it's just going to send them an email, for example, and it'll have a verification code in there. And they just click that through, which will link them back to the portal, and it'll give them a username to put in. So then they can use the username they've been given, as well as the password which they've set up, and they should be able to log into the portal. So that's our new identity server work that we've been doing on the login screen. We just wanted to give you an initial glimpse at that today. We are, like I say, we are just finalising that in 836, so we should be able to show that in demos going forward as well for you. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to jump into the actual portal. So I'm just going to swap over. So once they've logged in, they'll be given this home screen, which is what they'll be faced with. There's a couple of things it's worth mentioning on here. So the first one's branding. As you can see, we've got some purple colours going on here. So you can change the branding yourselves to your corporate colours. This is worth mentioning that this is done in your Compucare system. It's not done directly on the portal. So in your Compucare system, you'll see a new setting which has come up, which is a patient app settings. In there, you'll be able to set a light theme and a dark theme. We're going to move on to that shortly of what that corresponds to. So there's a couple of things they can do from here on the home screen. The first thing that's worth mentioning is the two things up here. So you can see we've got a Streets Heaver logo as well as Streets Heaver patient portal. Again, to link in with your branding, you can change all of that. So that is customizable. From the banner at the top here, you'll see this has got all my details in at the top here. They can update their details from there. You can see there's a little hyperlink. If they click into that, it just takes them into an update my details section, which we're going to go into in a second. So if you scroll over on the right hand side, you'll see the next to their name and picture. If you click on that, it comes up with a menu again. So if we go into the My Details tab, that's just going to take us into the same tab that it would if we clicked on the hyperlink in the banner. So once we've gone into there, you see it comes up with some of their basic information. Because we've given them their Compucare ID to sign up to the portal with, everything that they update in the portal will go directly into your Compucare system, so it will sync up with each other. And vice versa, anything that you update on your Compucare database, that will be linked into the portal as well, so they will keep each other up to date. It is also worth mentioning if you've got a PAS link in your hospital or PPU centre, it's worth noting that you can lock down the ability to edit details. So you can lock all of this down so that they can't edit anything. That's an option we can do as well. So I'm just going to come back out of that into the home page. The next thing you'll be able to do from this little side menu is toggle in the theme. So if I toggle the theme here, you can see it changes all the colours to a green colour. Again, as we mentioned before, this is something you could do from your patient app settings in Compucare. So if I just toggle back out of that onto the light theme. And then the final thing that you could do from here is go into their account maintenance. So if we click into the account maintenance, you see it comes up with a couple of options for them. So the first one is just to set up two-factor authentication. So you can set this up with the portal, both with mobiles and authenticator devices. So it's worth bearing that in mind for that extra level of security behind the portal. They've also got the option to change or reset their password here at the bottom as well. When you click into any of these, what it's going to do is it's just going to ask them for that password, and then it will take them through the process. So if we come back out of there, in terms of other bits I wanted to show you, there's three main areas in the portal. We've got bookings, transactions, and correspondence. You can see these pop up on the side menu here. You can shrink this side menu down, so it gives you a fuller screen of the cards. The first one I wanted to take a look at was the appointments card. You can see at the bottom here, it's got any upcoming appointments for the patient. On the appointments card, what it will do is as well, it will just show them their next appointment. So you can see in terms of details, what we've got from here. It's come up with the date of the next appointment and the time. It's also given them an indication of how long the appointment is and what type of appointment it is. So you can see we've got 15 minutes on this one, and it's an outpatient appointment. If they click on the Add to My Calendar button here, what that'll do is it will just bring up an iCal notification, and that gives them the option to save it into their personal calendar as well. So it'll bring through all the details of their appointment. You can see it's got the date in here at the top and the times of the appointment. It also pulls through the location for them, and it just gives them a bit of detail about their appointments as well. So you can see this, it's given the address of where it is and also a telephone number to contact as well. So that'll come in helpful if they need to cancel their appointment or amend it in any way. So it does give them all of those details in the iCal. So if I just come back out of that, In terms of what other details we've got on this front card, it will give you the attending clinician, so you can see we've got Dr. Jones against this appointment. There is a field here which is the type of appointment, so you can see this one's at the hospital. We have put in the ability here to put in any Teams consultations or phones consultations as well. So if they're not face-to-face, it will show that in this contact type field here. If it's a Teams consultation, it will just come up with a hyperlink there as well. It will say, and you can click on that, it will take the patient straight into the Microsoft Teams consultation. So they can do that straight from this card, and they can also do that from the appointment section as well. So it's worth bearing that in mind. Underneath, you can see it's got the location details again. So we can see this one's at Streets Heaver Hospital. If we click into that, what it's going to do is it's just going to open up the location details. So again, what we've tried to do is give them this information as much as possible so they can quickly know where they need to go if they've got any amends they need to make to their booking or any questions. You can also see it's brought up a little Google Maps tile in the side here. If they click into that, it will take them into the bigger Google Maps. So they've got a directional tool to get to the clinic as well. There's also that email address at the bottom with the reservations at Streets Heaver. So any questions they've got about their appointment, again, it gives them the option to click into that. Underneath that, again, it's got those two options for the phone number and email address. This email address could be set to what you need it to be, so you can have a dedicated address for the portal. It's just mainly for any questions that people have got with appointments, so it might go to your outpatients bookings team or something like that. There is a final section at the bottom here, which is a procedure section. So with this next appointment tile just showing them their next appointment, it will give you any procedures if it's an inpatient appointment. So that will show up at the bottom there as well. So if we click into the tile, you'll see it comes up with this this screen here. What we've tried to do is to make the patient portal as user-friendly as possible. We've tried to keep the layout throughout the portal as similar as possible. So you'll recognise this when we go into the different sections. You'll recognise the screen type is very similar. This is just to make it a bit easier for the patient to navigate around. So in all of the screen types, there's a couple of extra things they could do. They can filter down. So you can see there's a little filter thing here. And if they just wanted to see their inpatient ones, for example, and they click OK, you can see it just filters that down for them. You can filter by any of the columns. If I just untick that again, you can also filter by date, clinician, and any of the columns on the top here. There's also a search bar function as well, so they can type in, if they wanted to see certain clinicians, they can also type it in there as well. In terms of other bits I wanted to show you in the booking section, there is a big request a booking button at the top here. When they click on that, it will just ask them for a bit more information. So what we've done in this ability is we've created the ability for them to fill in this request a booking form, and then it will send it off to that email address again. So again, it could be the outpatient bookings or reception, or a dedicated email address of what you wanted. So if we just fill in a bit of information just to see how this one works, if we just said if the patient put in pain in left foot as a basic example. We've also got an any other information section here. So if they just said something like that, I don't know, aspirin hasn't affected the pain or anything like that, just as an example. We've also got the preferred contact time at the bottom here. So what those will do is if they set it to morning, for example, when it sends that email off to your dedicated email address, it will just say that the patient would rather be contacted back about this in the mornings. And then it will be down to the outpatient bookings team again, just to give them a ring back and try and get them booked in with an appointment. So if we click send at the bottom here, you'll see it just pops up with a little success box as well at the bottom. So it just tells them that that's gone off and just gives them that validation as well. In terms of other bits you can do on here, you could pay deposits for appointments directly from this screen. So if I just click on that button, what it's going to do is it's just going to come up with a deposit due for this particular appointment. It gives them the option to pay the full balance or another amount. So if we just click another amount on this one, and entered in £50, for example. If we just click continue to payment, what this does is it links up with PXP's iframe. So if you've got our credit debit card module and you've got PXP AnyPay, it will link you into this PXP iframe that you can see is popped up here. So it will just ask the patient to pop in their card details which is quite standard that you see quite a lot these days, and then click Pay Now. You can see the cards it accepts along the top here. And it also gives them the option to store cards as well. So if they've used a previous card on the portal, it will store that. It will come up with a little box with the stored card details. And what it will do is when they click that, it will just ask them to put their CVV security number from the back in that as well. So I'm just going to come back out of that. In here as well, you'll see when it gives the details of the appointment, there is, again, we've got this site column here. If they click on that, it'll do the same thing that it does on the front appointment card. So it will just link them up with those location details again. And again, from there, they can access the Google Maps and anything they need. Perfect. So I'm just going to come back out of the booking section into our home section. The next section I wanted to take a look at was our correspondence section. This is quite a simple section. What it'll do on the main tile is it will show you the 5 most recent pieces of correspondence. So this is everything from the outpatient letters, inpatient letters, and anything that you've got that you sent to the patient. If you click into it, you'll see we've got this similar screen that we've seen before. Again, they can search and filter using the top functionality here. So what the extra functionality they've got in here is they've got the ability to print these correspondence pieces that you've got with the patient. If they print that, what it's going to do is it's just going to come up with that print preview, similar to how it does in your Compucare systems. It will just give you a preview of the letter, and from there they'll be able to save that and print it off as well. So I'm just going to come back out of there as well. So that's everything I wanted to show you in the correspondence section. It's worth noting that currently through Compucare, obviously you can send patient letters via post or via PDF on email. What we've tried to do is with the patient portal, obviously it offers that extra security around this. So by securing the correspondence behind 2-factor authentication, which you can set up, and password combinations, it's just helping with those best practices in terms of GDPR as well. So hopefully it does help that within your hospital as well. So if we come back out of there, the final section I just wanted to show you was our current balance section we've got here. So it's labelled as transactions in the menu on the side here. You'll see on this front card, there's a couple of different options again. It's worth noting that anything in the transactions section, it's only linked to the self-funded transactions. So all of the credits, invoices and receipts that they're going to see in this tab, it's only self-funded. There'll be no insurance details or any insurance payments in this section. So you can see on the front here, again, we've got the 3 most recent pieces. So we've got a credit, an invoice and another invoice there. They've also got the option here, which is the make a payment. So if they click on that, it will just take them through to making a payment on their deposit for one of their accounts. So if we click into the card to see what's going on, you'll see it's got that similar screen again. They've got search capabilities in here, and they've also got the filtering again. You can see down the side, the same as the other sections, we've got different icons. Just so at a quick glance, you can see whether it's an invoice, credit or receipt. And it's also got the date, time details and some amount and balance details in there as well. And also the transaction number. So there's a couple of things they could do from the top of the screen. Firstly, they can print off a statement. So if we click the include history there, what that's going to do is it's going to include everything that they've got on their account. And if I click print again, it's just going to come up with all those transactions for them in a patient statement. So again, from there, they can save that off if they need it or print it as well. Come out there. As well as that, they can also do a pay all option. So what that'll do is it'll take the total value of all of their invoices and it will come up with that at the top here in the balance due. And again, it's just going to go through that PXP thing that we've just looked at in the iframe. So it's going to ask them if they want to pay the full balance or another amount. And it's just going to run through that again for them. It's worth mentioning on this one, if they click the pay all button at the top, what this will do in your Compucare system, it'll allocate the payments against the oldest invoice first. So it allocates it against the oldest one, and then it'll allocate forwards to the newest one. So if they just paid out of that 1,200, £600 worth of that, it's going to allocate it to the old one first and allocate it as much as it can forwards. Perfect. So as well as that, they can print and pay individual invoices. You can see you've got an option to do that here. So it's just going to take you into that individual invoice where they can see all the details and the breakdown of description of that. And again, if they just click into pay now, it's just going to update that balance, so it's only that invoice they're looking at. Fantastic. So that's everything I think I wanted to show you on our Portal Live demo. I'm just going to go back into our slides. So in summary, our patient portal will significantly improve workflow and increase patient loyalty by making them more likely to meet appointments and be proactive about their care. So that brings us to the end of our webinar today. Thank you very much for joining us. Hopefully you found the event useful and made use of our Q&A section if you required. Please feel free to contact us if you've got any further questions or queries. I've just put the details on the screen for you there. And hopefully we'll see you on our next Lunchtime webinar. So the next one's going to be on the 8th of September. Stephene's going to be running us through the Clinicians View app. So thank you very much for watching, and hopefully we'll see you on the next one.